Live from a water-damaged basement in Prince George's County, Maryland. It is yet another social distancing concert. Thank you for being here. Thanks for coming back. I hope your week was good. Since our last show, the Great Despiser social distancing concert last week, my week was pretty good. My week really improved because I decided to stop drinking beer starting at 4 p.m. every day, which has made a big difference in my quarantine. To push that hour back at which I start drinking beer. So that's just a little something in my life that's gone right. I hope you've had a couple things in your life have gone right. Tonight, I'm going to play in its entirety my third LP, a record called Windfall. And so we'll play that record, and then we'll take some questions, we'll take some requests. We've got a special guest coming up, and I think it's going to be a fun night overall. This record, Windfall, we made it in, of all places, Lexington, Kentucky, which is not exactly known as a mecca for recorded music. You know, it's obviously not, New York or Los Angeles or Nashville, and neither is it Muscle Shoals. It's not like a small city that really pulls it. And the reason that we went there, even though it had no pedigree whatsoever, is that it had a producer who had a pedigree that we loved, who had a bunch of records that we loved, a fellow named Dwayne Lundy. And Dwayne had produced some albums for bands like Vanderveer, which I loved. And so we got together with Dwayne and we said, hey man, we're going to come to your studio in Lexington and record this whole thing. And at the time, his studio, called Shangri-La, it was back in like this industrial area. It was like this low-slung one-story building that it looked like he should have been selling like wholesale linoleum or something out of there. But when you opened the door and went inside, there was like a little curtain when you came inside. It was this really cool studio with all these pianos and organs strewn all over the place. And the really cool part about working with Dwayne is he is sort of from the Daniel Lanois school of producing. And when I say that, I mean Daniel Lanois really kind of, he forged a path with producing music where you wouldn't necessarily have like a control room with the mixing board in the booth that's separate from the musicians. So the producer with the mixing board and the playback would be right there in the room with the musicians, and that's how Dwayne did it. So you'd come in, and there's all these organs, all these pianos, and right in the center of it all, there's the mixing board. And the band would kind of set up around the mixing board, and you'd play, and that way, between take to take, you didn't have to go into the control room and break your flow. Everyone could sit at their position and describe how they felt, if they wanted to do another one, if they felt like that was the take. It was a really cool way of working. And I went in there with my road band at the time. It was Greg Toohey on electric guitar and Matt Schuessler on bass. And we worked at the studio for about 2.5, 3 weeks. We also slept there and lived there like it was a firehouse or something. And it was a really intense 3 weeks. We'd wake up every morning. We'd start some food in the crock pot in the kitchen. It was like a little office kitchenette. And then we would play songs and play songs and play songs. And then at dinner time, we'd have whatever was in the crock pot, and we'd crack some beer, and then we'd keep on playing. So it was an absolutely wonderful record to make. It was such a joy. And, playing the songs this week, getting ready for this concert, I really reconnected with a lot of them that I don't normally play in concert, and I had a blast. So without further ado, here's the first song off of Windfall. I don't know, but I could swear we left our better selves somewhere. These days all we do, it seems, chase our checks and call them dreams. I known you since we were kids. with the whole world cut up on a dish. Then the work went south and your dad got sick, and the ground below began to slip. Bright beginnings often fade, precious few can keep the flame. So let the chips fall where they may. We're headed out of town today. Where we're bound for I can't say. There's no sure things in this life, baby. Bright beginnings often fade, precious few can keep the flame. But all I have I give to stand beside that brightness once again. All I have I would happily give. All I have I would happily give. All I have I would happily give. All I have I would happily give, baby. To stand there with you now, to stand there with you ever, to stand there with you now, to stand there with you ever, to stand there with you now, to stand there with you ever, to stand there with you now, to stand there with you ever. Thank you. That's track one off of Windfall. Where are you guys watching from tonight? Tell me in the comments. I want to see where everybody's at. Let's see. All right. Sean's in Queens, New York. How you doing up there in New York, man? I hope you're doing all right in Queens. Seems like a dangerous place to be these days, brother. Hope you're safe. Oh, look at that. Carol Ann Pugliese, someone with my own last name, in Sausalito. All right, at least we know that one Pugliese's got money. Duncan Hill is in Austin. Scratch, some weird YouTube name, is in Vashon Island. I stayed at a hostel in Vashon Island once. It's a beautiful place. Joseph is in Long Island. I hope you're safe out there, brother. That's a dangerous place to be right now. Yonkers. Wow, New York is really overrepresented here tonight. I guess you guys can't go out because of the virus. So you're, let's see. And Ellen Young, you're in St. Kilda, Melbourne, Australia. It's the middle of the day in Australia, Ellen. You're playing hooky from work, I bet. And Duncan's in Toronto. All right, you guys are all over the place. I appreciate you watching tonight. Here, let me play the next tune on this. This next song on the record, usually when I play this live, I play it on piano, but I worked up a guitar version of it that sounds a lot more like the record tonight. You see the moon in the middle of the night as you pull it on the 35 south. You got a lot upon your mind tonight, and so you took a ride to figure it out. The years went by like strangers that you might have recognized if they didn't walk away into the wedding night.
Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grips that wheel just a little bit tighter now. Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grips that wheel just a little bit tighter now. You see your baby in the stars tonight as you put on the 35 songs. You know she wonders where you are tonight and whether you could ever turn it around. Been a while since you could hold her hand. She's so kind, she smiles and says she understands. Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now. Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now. Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now. Don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now. No, don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now. No, don't back down yet, it'll get brighter. Stand your ground like a veteran fighter. Grip that wheel just a little bit tighter now.
That's track 2 off of Windfall, man. This next song off the record is, we did the whole session. We did like a 3-week session. Then we came home and we listened to all the stems and we felt like the record was a song or two short. We just didn't feel like it was there. We recorded more songs. We didn't end up liking them and we had to cut them and we needed 1 or 2 more songs to go. And so I was living in Austin at the time. And I don't know why I had to get out of my house. It might have been the summer. So my wife was home from work. She's a teacher. And so I couldn't work in the house. And I didn't know where I was going to go. And then I had just gone on a tour that year with David Ramirez. He came on the road with me and had been supporting some shows. And we became friends after that. And I called. He had mentioned to me either via text or on the phone. He said, by the way, I'm out of town. If you need to use my house for any reason, let me know. And it was a weird thing to offer because I don't know why I would need someone's house. But in this particular case, I was like, wait a second, I do need somebody's house right now. So David he'd gotten this house and almost as soon as he had gotten it, he had to go back out on the road. So when I got there, the only thing that was in there was a big upright piano and a big American flag behind it. And that was like the only thing that was in the house. There was nothing in there. There's no like dishes. There was no, soap, toilet paper. I don't think there was any beds. I don't think there was a couch. It was just a piano and an American flag at David Ramirez's house. Yeah, which is pretty much what you'd expect. And I mean that in the best way possible. I love David. And so I spent about a week there at David's empty house with this piano there, working on songs because I had to finish this record. I had to put a hat on this record and finish it. And this is one of the songs I ended up writing at David's house to kind of finish out the record. And this is song 3 on Windfall.
Don't take everything they say to heart. Don't pick every unkind word apart. It's a brave new world, but some things still hold true. The seasons change and people change their tune. 'Cause they don't know beauty, just the costume. Don't know music, just the volume. Stay and dance, we're just too broad. The lights come up, baby, nothing else remains. So grab that waiting wheel and set your course. Let the chorus waver back and forth. It's you alone knows where the greatness lies. So meet their doubtful gazes eye to eye. 'Cause they don't know beauty, just the costume. Don't know music, just the volume. Stay and dance, we're just too broad. Stay and dance, we're just too broad. Stay and dance, we're just too broad. The lights come up, baby, nothing else remains. The lights come up, baby, nothing else remains. Thanks.
That's song 3 off Windfall, a song written in David Ramirez's Empty House. Was that one. I'm going to jump over to the comments now. I'd like to take some questions from you guys. I know where you're at now. You told me where you're at, but if you have anything to say or if you have anything you wanted to ask, now's the time, man. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm here to I'm of service. Let's see. Okay, M.O. White asks, Joe, what are you reading? What am I reading right now? I'm going back and reading very slowly Shelby Foote's Civil War trilogy, which I read in my 20s, which I thought that I would never get a chance to read again because I just wouldn't have the time in life. And then a global pandemic happened. And I was like, well, if I'm ever going to have a chance to read Shelby Foote's trilogy of the Civil War, now would be the time. It's a very famous book, so a lot of you have probably heard of it, or it's a very, very famous trilogy. But basically, Shelby Foote was an author from Tennessee who really wanted to be primarily a novelist. And for whatever reason, things never took off for him in that way. But he was contracted to write, basically, it's not historical fiction about the Civil War, because it's not imagined, but he takes the entire history of the Civil War and he writes it as if it was a narrative, and it's completely engrossing. He's such an important American writer, Shelby Foote is. You know who Shelby Foote is, actually? If you've ever watched the Ken Burns series on the Civil War, the very stately, bearded Southern gentleman who's always making commentary in the Ken Burns series, that's Shelby Foote. So right now I'm trying to read I'm about 100 pages into the first of the 3, and it's great. So let's see who else has a question here. Let's see. Okay, so Kai asks, musician here, doing carpentry during this period after taking years off. What's the best writing device you found through the trade? The best writing device? So I used to do carpentry back in the day, and I've told this story before, but I guess this question there's no other way to answer it. I would, you have a carpenter's pencil when you're working, one of those big fat things that you get at Home Depot or People Supply. And I used to be cut man. So people would be putting in studs or whatever, and they would call out, lengths to me, and I'd do the cuts. So every time you do a cut and give someone a stud, you have a little piece at the end that falls off, that's your scrap. And I would be writing songs on scrap wood, until my boss, Pete Athey in Chicago, he found the scrap wood with like these lyrics on it. He's like, I'm not gonna drop an F-bomb here because I think there's probably kids watching, but let's say he was not enthused. So yeah, when I was doing carpentry, the best thing I found was carpenter's pencil and scrap wood from cutting studs. Let's see. I'll do one more question, then we'll go back to some tunes. Okay, Joe, I have a question. Your harmonica holder is backwards compared to how I wear it, with the tabs inward. Am I missing some hot tip on harmonica holders? Oh my gosh, my friends, listen, if you came here for no other reason tonight, I'm about to blow your mind is what I'm about to do. I learned this. I played the Ann Arbor Folk Festival when I was about 25 years old. And I wasn't even the opener. I only got one song. They called me a tweener, which means you play in between sets. So I got to play in between sets because I was a new kid on the block. And headlining that year, this was 2009 or 2010. I don't know when it was, but Jeff Tweedy was headlining that year. And I got to stand side stage and watch him play, which was obviously a seminal moment in my professional life. It was really inspiring. And I noticed the same thing that you noticed, B. Sauer, who asked this question. I thought to myself, Jeff Tweedy is wearing his harmonica holder backwards. But I was wearing my harmonica holder backwards. So I know a lot of people, look, this is a harmonica holder, and it has these two little teeth here, and a lot of people wear these teeth outwards. But what I saw Jeff Tweedy doing is he would slip the harmonica in, and he would use the teeth to trap it. You can pop it in. Listen, you hear the pop. Hear that pop? He would pop it in between the teeth and the rail, and that just keeps it in there perfectly. So there you have it. I guess only me and Jeff Tweedy, who I stole this from, can properly use this type of Hohner harmonica rack. And now, whatever you tuned in for this broadcast for tonight, you got a really useful piece of information there, a hard-won piece of information. It took me a long time to get that. So there you go. Thanks, Brian. All right, I'm going to play another tune here. Let's see. Oh, I like this song. This is a song I wrote. I've been reading a book called Godric by a guy named Frederick Buechner. And there was a line in the book I thought was really beautiful. It's about this old monk who lives by himself. He's at the end of his life. And he is reminiscing about the times in his life before he became a monk. He's reminiscing about his whole life and about all the wicked things that he had done. It's a really funny book. It's a really cool book. And at one point in the book, he talks about being next to the river where he lives, and he has a star that he's picked out for the Virgin Mary, and he's talking about a secret that he shares with her, and he says, the secret that we share I cannot tell in full, but this much I will tell. What's lost is nothing to what's found, and all the death that ever was set next to life could scarcely fill a cup. And so I read that, and when I read that, I was like, man, well, I'll never be able to, I can't write something that impactful, so I'll just lift that and put it into a song. So this song was inspired by that book, Frederick Buechner's book, Godric.
Every inch of anguish laid out side by side cannot make a full yard in the measure of our lives. every coin of sorrow weighed upon the beams rises when the far side is freighted by our dreams. Well, the night is rich as we stop to look around. Yes, I believe it is as we pause to hear the sound. All we lost is nothing to what we found. All we lost is nothing to what we found. Every dying ember, every setting sun cannot cast a shadow on the race we have run. Every paper dollar counted over twice cannot buy our gladness, cannot pay our price. Well, the night is rich as we stop to look around. Yes, I believe it is as we pause to hear the sound. All we lost is nothing to what we found. All we lost is nothing to what we found. Well, the night is rich as we stop to look around. Yes, I believe it is as we pause to hear the sound. All we lost is nothing to what we found. All we lost is nothing to what we found.
That song's called The Measure off Windfall. All right, let me play you a song now. This is a song, this is fun. This is why I like doing this social distancing concert thing where I play through entire albums. Let me play you a song that I've never played live before. Some songs are like that. They're just studio songs. They never make it out. And what's cool about this process of playing all these albums all the way through, it's really making me, it's pushing me a little bit. And that's not a bad thing. If it was up to me, I'd just play the same boring set every time, the same way. So I can use a little bit of encouragement. This song is called Great Hosannas.
Aspirations, flat refusals, childhood bedrooms, disapproval, would-be authors, erstwhile singers, costume jewelry, ballpark figures, naked power, basic segment, true love's call gone unrequited. Great hosannas, Sunday Christians, broken Spanish, postcard missions, paid compassion, sponsored mercy, remunerated soul searching, wishful thinking, best intentions, friendships based on chain business ventures, closet smokers, payday lenders, Rolex watches, walk-in closets, floodlights trained on open faucets, great hosannas, grin and bear it, but ruthless men stand to inherit.
Great hosannas. That, really in the running for one of the darkest Joe Pug songs that there is, that's a title for you right there. That's a mantle to take. Darkest Joe Pug songs. I mean, that's a tough one to get to. Okay, well, we got a special guest joining us right now to talk about the making of this record. And let's bring him in right now, the producer himself, all the way from Lexington, Kentucky. Please welcome Mr. Dwayne Lundy.
Hello, Joe.
Dwayne, how you doing?
How are you? Good. I flew in just for you.
Flew in just for me. Yeah, you're in my side room. I know.
Yeah.
It was really controversial, us buying plane tickets during this time.
We had to be distant.
But the tickets were also very cheap.
Yes.
Hey, so for listeners who aren't familiar with your work, you had a kind of a strange kind of sideways way into the music business. Can you kind of describe how you got your start producing and mixing music?
Well, I started playing late. So, and at the time I was a tennis pro, a coach for,
That's right.
Yes. And so I spent most of my time on the road, just picking up the guitar. But by getting such a late start, I didn't really have any mates to play with, so to speak. So I got a 4-track and just built up the rig from there. And then started just recording a little bit of local band stuff, and then went into doing some score work and some mix work for like TV, film, commercial type of thing. At the same time, I was working with some acts, and then the sort of atom split a little bit in a good way. And I was stubborn enough to stick it out for this long, and but it was a pretty organic thing. One thing led to another, and I always liked the sound as much as actually like the participation. So it was sort of a natural thing.
Yeah, well, you're known for your ability to sculpt sound, but when we worked together, I was pretty impressed with your, I guess you could call it bedside manner, because you had a very firm hand in the studio. Something that I remember the most was the first day or two in the studio, we were working to get sounds. And at a certain point, we were working to get sounds on an acoustic guitar. And I kept on pushing and pushing and pushing and being like, no, that's not it. That's not it. And about a half hour or 40 minutes into it, you just said, listen, man, I put every mic in my mic closet on your guitar. And if you don't like the way that any of these sounds, you're with the wrong guy. So maybe you should just get out of here. And I was just always struck with, that really set the tone for the rest of the session and your ability to guide everybody. Can you kind of talk about where that came from and your kind of philosophy for guiding a session forward?
I think it's one part feeling like things, if they move quick, and I do my preparation before you get in, then you're not spent in the artist or the band or whatever's not spent with much time with a fatigue value. And if I set up enough options, and I knew you were going to be particular in a good way, I had the good fortune with you of us having a mutual history, friendships and bands and so on and so forth. So we had done a lot of talking previous to going in, more so than I usually do.
Yeah.
And so you were pretty certain as to the general direction. And so I had prepared accordingly before. And then I think it's probably the other part is just general laziness. I don't want to sit there and fiddle with that stuff all day long. I figure stick a really good mic in front of you and get the ball rolling. Yeah.
So what I remember the most about your old studio, I know that you're not in the same location, but where we cut this record, it was back in this industrial park. My favorite part was if you walk back to this industrial park, there was this place, and I'm not making this up, and you can vouch for me, where the mafia had all these ice cream trucks that they had painted black,
Yeah.
and that they sold drugs out of. Is that what it is? That they sold drugs out of these?
Over time, I felt like that was probably a better chance than not that that's what was going on. There might have been a side gig that was more primary than not. So yes,
So that's what.
The one thing about that place was it was so juxtaposed. It was very big, huge spot, and I hate traditional studios for the most part. I feel very like it's a dentist office type of mentality, very clinical, and I like to communicate without using the talk back if possible. Mm-hmm. So that particular space, when I went in there, it was not maybe the most profound area of town at the time, and ironically, at this point, it sort of is. But I also love the fact that, being in Lexington as opposed to being in more of a industry market, we were able to sort of, seclude ourselves off and not worry about, the rest of the world at all. And that place was even a little further, even a journey further down.
It was a journey further down. When you think back on this record, which we now recorded 6 years ago, what are some memories that jump out to you about the making of Windfall?
It seems like one thing to me. I was actually listening to the album yesterday, which I hadn't done in a while. And I don't, so many albums are made over lots of different chapters. Too many, too much time taken to make albums these days. Yeah. And you were, the one thing that we both agreed on early on in preparing for it was that it was going to be done, the most profound amount of it was going to be done in a very dense period of time. And we were going to concentrate and we were going to be very selfish about that. And I think that when I listened back to it, for the most part, that's what I got out of it. It just seemed like one sort of, jump headfirst into the ocean and we were sort of floating and, there were high times and, more, I don't remember anything really difficult about it. We got into a mantra and we stayed in there for the most part. And I remember adjusting our schedule at one point. Maybe we were going to do a little bit later. And then as the session went on, we sort of got it maybe more in the scope of a semi-regular work day. Yeah. And, that allowed us, some leisure time on occasion, to refresh.
Indeed. Yeah, well, it had been my plan. I'd heard Bob Dylan talk about, he said in some newspaper or magazine quote, he said, I like to record at night because it allows me to record everything slower. Mm-hmm. And so I told you that. I'm like, I'm going to record at night, Dwayne. Yeah. And then you guys were fine recording at night, but I'm such an old man in spirit that I eventually was just like, I can't sing this late. We got to start this regular session.
Well, we had our crock pot sessions in the evening. So things would tend to get really slow after our crockpot session. So I think that may have had a hand in us altering the schedule a little bit.
Definitely, man. Yeah. Well, tell everybody, what are you working on right now? What are you up to these days?
Well, it's an interesting time, obviously. So it's been very concentrated on mixing and preparation for projects that have been sort of altered and, rearranged. I just finished working with Daniel Rodriguez from Elephant Revival.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I just finished the mix on that over the last month. And but there's always a bunch of stuff. It seems like there's usually 5 to 7 projects at one time going. And then I'm doing some more selfish work over the summer, some score stuff and some writing as well. So it's been a very good concentrated recalibration, this whole, situation that we're in.
Totally. Yeah. Well, Dwayne Lundy of Shangri-La Studios, it's good to see you, brother. Thanks for joining us tonight to talk a little bit about Windfall.
Good. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks, brother.
Right,
peace.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Right on. There's my friend Dwayne. And if you're looking to make a record or get a record mixed, Dwayne is up there with the very best, man. So get a hold of him, Dwayne Lundy, over at Shangri-La Studios. Let's play another tune here. This is one, I'd actually written this song a lot earlier before this session, and I'd always been trying to get it onto albums, and I just never could squeeze it on, or the versions that we had just didn't sound good. So we finally got one that I thought sounded good here.
Never had enough to be the favorite son, and so I never had enough to disappoint no one. Everything I ever done, it never came too much. Maybe then I could have said that I was just washed up. Oh, my brother was a soldier, he was straight and true. Mama said he was a member of the chosen few. But I guess he never felt he ever got his due. He wrote a note and put a rope around his necklace, you. Let them burn and shine, let them burn and shine. Let that last long dance just be yours and mine. Let them spin their wheels, turn their pages, break their knives on the rock of ages. Baby, we'll be fine. Let them burn, burn and shine. Well, no one ever whistled when you walked by, 'cause you never caught the corner of the public eye. When you left town, you got one goodbye from the sign at the Frederick County line. Oh, your sister was a looker, she was tall and wild. She had a star-crossed lover on a moonlit mile. Then she met a politician and she had his child. It takes the bottom of a bottle just to make her smile. Let them burn and shine, let them burn and shine. Let that last long dance just be yours and mine. Let them spin their wheels, turn their pages, break their knives on the rock of ages. Baby, we'll be fine. Let them burn, burn and shine.
That was either Terrible Thunder outside my house, or the Blue Angels are back, or my wife is moving a chair upstairs. I'm not sure which. Thanks, that's Burn and Shine, a song I wrote a long time before this record. Here's another one that I wrote a long time before this record. I wrote this song that I'm about to play for you in Chicago. When I just moved there, I was like 23 or 24, and someone had given me the Ryan Adams Heartbreaker album, which I loved, which is a great record. And he has that song, Oh My Sweet Carolina, and in my ego gone wild tizzy that I was in my early 20s, I thought to myself, aha, I can write a better song than that that's just like it. So I don't think I quite got there, but that's what was going through my mind. I said, well, he's from Carolina, he wants to write a song about that. I can write a song about where I'm from too. He's not the only one. When I was a young man, I released my feet, and they carried me strong across the trouble I'd meet. When without peace, when weary the most, I'd head for the east, and I'd sleep on the coast. When the summer was ripe, come and knock on my door. See my friends and their pipes sit upon my porch. Life was the highway, a light was the bridge. I got high in a way that I haven't got since. Oh my Chesapeake, oh my Chesapeake, forget all the things my soul does seek. A boy needs no dinner when the tobacco is sweet. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake. We ran down our nights
in rundown hotels with balcony cries in bottles and bells, to abandoned weeks, to hangover days, to not quit tomorrow what we could quit today. Oh my Chesapeake, oh my Chesapeake, forget all the things my soul does seek. A boy needs no dinner when the tobacco is sweet. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake. And now every summer I hear no call. If my friends are not lawyers, they don't work at all. You can call that man history who lives in the past. Can you blame him for asking for something to last? Oh my Chesapeake, oh my Chesapeake, forget all the things my soul does seek. Another Sunday dead, another needless week. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake. I'll sleep tonight on the Chesapeake.
Right on. Yeah, so written many years before, but it made it onto this record. I think it's time for everybody's favorite segment. I think that's thunder outside, you guys. I'm serious. I don't think it's my wife moving a chair back and forth above the basement. I think that's Zeus throwing lightning bolts outside. It's time for everybody's favorite segment, Soft Boy Poem Corner. This is a beautiful Mary Oliver poem that I love. It's called The Swan by Mary Oliver. Did you see it drifting all night on the Black River? Did you see it in the morning, rising into the silvery air, an armful of white blossoms, a perfect commotion of silk and linen as it leaned into the bondage of its wings? A snowbank, a bank of lilies, biting the air with its black beak. Did you hear it, fluting and whistling a shrill dark music, like the rain pelting the trees, like a waterfall knifing down the black ledges? And did you see it, finally, just under the clouds? A white cross streaming across the sky, its feet like black leaves, its wings like the stretching light of the river? And did you feel it in your heart, how it pertained to everything? And have you too finally figured out what beauty is for? And have you changed your life? Mary Oliver, coming in strong, as she always does. That was another episode of Soft Boy Poem Corner, which I know I've gotten your notes. I've gotten your notes in the virtual tip jar over the last couple of weeks that Soft Boy Poem Corner is a favorite. So I'm glad that it is. I like doing it. Here is not quite the title track of this record, because they're a little bit different. Their album's called Windfall, and this song is called Windfall. So it's kind of the title track.
Riding on that cutting horse, don't you stand so tall. Sleeves rolled up and your shoulders back, sharp as a miter saw. Children come from far and wide, spill out in the streets to call your name and to watch you ride, to touch the boots on your feet. If you're in it for the windfalls, don't be surprised when your will to fight wavers and eventually dies. But if you're in it for the long haul, if you're in it to survive, there's not a trench you can't be found. There's not a drought could drag you down. I can see it in the whites of your eyes. If you're in it to survive, riding down that royal road, silver in your beard. The years came fast and they took their toll. Friends just disappeared. Younger riders pass you by in all their silent style. You see that brightness in their eye. You hang your head and smile. If you're in it for the windfalls, don't be surprised when your will to fight wavers and eventually dies. But if you're in it for the long haul, if you're in it to survive, there's not a trench you can't be found. There's not a drought could drag you down. I can see it in the whites of your eyes. If you're in it to survive,
Thank you. The pseudo title track from Windfall. And now I'm going to play you my favorite song on this record. I really love this song. It has a special place in my heart. I still play it in shows quite a bit.
If they're going to make a shadow out of me, well, I guess I'll be the shadow of that post oak tree in the forest by your house where we used to meet. If they're going to make a shadow out of me, if they're going to make a shadow out of you, well, I hope to catch the briefest glimpse as you go passing through, as the shadow of the Lincoln we drove to school. If they're going to make a shadow out of you, lines will disappear as we grow darker, darker than we planned for at the start. The light of morning will get even farther until at last you can't tell us apart. If they're going to make a shadow out of us, casting downward to the valley from an Appalachian bluff. I was born, then I loved you. I guess that was enough. If they're going to make a shadow out of us, if they're going to make a shadow out of us.
Pair of Shadows, my favorite song on that record. Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out and doing this. I'm going to play the last song on the record right now, and then I'm going to jump into the comments, and I'm going to play a few requests, just one or two. So go ahead and toss them down there in the comments, and I'll play one or two. Thank you for listening to this album. Thanks for being here every Sunday night. Thanks to everyone who's contributed to the virtual tip jar. It's really helping me keep the lights on while I can't be on the road. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. So let me know what songs you want to hear. I want to play the last song of Windfall here, and then I'll do a few requests, and then I'll go upstairs to see if that was indeed thunder, or if my wife and children have just torn apart the house in a drunken rage. And either is as likely as the other. So here we go. Last song of Windfall.
There's a road I have known I could always find. If I walked ahead, I could look behind. If I fell behind, I could always know. If it's not around this corner, it's around the next. If it's not beyond this river, it's beyond the rest. And if still it can't be found, it's probably for the best. There's a hand I have known I could always hold, through the night so long, through the day so filled. If I lost my grip, I would not despair. If it's not around this corner, it's around the next. If it's not beyond this river, it's beyond the rest. And if still it can't be found, it's probably for the best. So I'll keep walking on and often. You can hear the echoes of my steps. If it's not around this corner, it's around the next. If it's not beyond this river, it's beyond the rest. And if still it can't be found, it's probably for the best. If still it can't be found, it's probably for the best. There's a road I have known I could always find.
There's Windfall in its entirety. Thanks for being here for this. Thanks for being here last week. Next week, I'm going to play The Flood in Color in its entirety. And then after that, we have a very special surprise for what will be happening going forward with streaming, which I'm really excited about. Other than that, you can check out the podcast, The Working Songwriter, that I do every Friday. This last Friday, we had PJ Barham of American Aquarium. It was a really interesting conversation. We got to talk a lot about him putting together a new band. We got to talk about him working with Shooter Jennings on the last album that he made. So go check that out. I'll be here next week, same bat time, same bat place. Thanks for being here. Thanks for kicking into the virtual tip jar. I really appreciate it. And now let's see if you guys had some requests. We'll do a couple before I leave. Let's see. Oh, Chris O'Hearn, another Australian tour. Soon. Yeah, brother, we'll be back down there one of these nights. How you doing, Chris? I miss you, man. Let's see. Peter, you're always requesting the Springsteen song. You bastard. I'm going to play one of mine. Okay. See, I feel like playing this one. Les wants to hear Flood in Color. I'd love to play that one. Okay, Les, let's do it.
Clap of lightning, I awaken to a foot of water standing in my basement. Started rising, took me under. The flood is coming. This is not history in black and white now. In a perfect storm, there isn't any high ground. The end of childhood, the end of summer, the flood in color. They tried to warn me, I wouldn't listen. And now all at once I'm drowning in my kitchen. My legs are broken from treading water. The flood is coming, the flood is coming. I tried to bargain, I tried to reason, but the sky was deaf, the rain was never ceasing. It's not some cheap bed I can cover. The flood in color, the flood in color. So listen close now. I was dead wrong to think that things could work themselves out in the long run. Pay attention, heed the thunder. The flood is coming, the flood in color.
That was for Les. All right, let's do one more request and we'll call it a night. Richard wants some Nation of Heat. Seth wants Hymn 101. A lot of people for In the Meantime. You know what? A lot of people for In the Meantime and Downbound Train, that Boss song. So you know what? I'll work those up for next week. Let's see. Okay, Joe, you played None the Wiser during that one live stream show like 5 years ago and said it would be on the next album. Okay, this is kind of an interesting one because it's unreleased. I wrote it a really long time ago and we tried to record it for the last album and it didn't come out. So I played this one. This is an unreleased song. This will eventually make an album, I would hope. I really like this song a lot. So thanks for that request, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Kind of a power move to play in the Encore. An unreleased song, definitely a power move, but it's the pandemic times, you guys. What are you gonna do?
Well, she's none the wiser, ain't that like her? Sets my soul on fire, but she's none the wiser. I loved a woman from a single kiss. She left Virginia from Los Angeles. She found her husband with a blue chip job. Takes her for granted, runs around like a dog. But she's none the wiser. Ain't that like her? And he's an awful liar. But she's none the wiser. Then I decided I would tempt my fate. I drove across the lower 48. None the wiser. Yeah, she's none the wiser. Ain't that like her? It sets my soul on fire. None the wiser. Yeah, she's none the wiser.
All right. Ending the concert power move with an unreleased song. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here last week. Thanks for coming here next week to hear the Flood in Color. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I have been finding a lot of meaning being able to play for you while I can't leave the house, and that means a lot to me. The meaning means a lot to me. I will see you next week from my flood-damaged basement in Prince George's County, Maryland. Peace.